Sometimes you get started riding across country with a destination in mind. The weather starts changing quickly and you must reconsider your strategy. Occasionally, your change in strategy works out fine. And other times you wind up stealth camping on the side of a volcano. For the last few days, I have been camped outside of Salida, Colorado, with this amazing backdrop as my living room, my kitchen, bathroom, and playground. But since time was running out and money was running out faster, I decided that it was time to head back towards Alabama slowly and catch one final rally on the way. It's a hell of a day to leave out of Colorado. It's looking kind of evil and angry, and there's a few spots of blue off in the distance, but I'm packed up and I'm ready to go. Rolling east and then south. I'm not really sure where I'm going yet. Got a long day of riding before I make any decisions, probably. But probably it's going to be somewhere out of Colorado. So, man, I've really dug it here. I've really had a good time in Colorado. I always do. It's never... if there's something that's not appealing, I just go find someplace 20 miles away or 10 miles away. It's just so easy. It's so easy. Unlike all the other states where you might have to actually drive, 100, 200, 300 miles into another state like Nevada. My God. Drive out of Nevada into another state and it's still desert. It's still harsh. It's still... But yeah, I've seen so much this trip. I just wonder what I would have done had I moved just a little bit more. I went 180 degrees from what I normally do, which is blazing across America as fast as I can go, and a day here, 2 days there, 3 days there, maybe. I haven't done this before. I haven't done the sit and park and just enjoy and soak up the wonderful environment and the local culture and the food. I wish I had more money and more time. I'd still be out here, or I'd probably be going back much, much slower. I would probably stay out here till the middle of October, but when it starts snowing, I gotta get out of Colorado. But then where? Arizona? Yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm heading out. Thank you, Colorado. You have been a wonderful host. Thank you so much. Woo, she's heavy. Sit down, Bertha. It's been a long day. Oh yes, bottoming out even more now. Well, if I could make it out of here, I'll probably be okay. Leaving out of camp after several days in an amazing place like this always leaves a bittersweet feeling in my mind. I enjoy exploring new places almost always, but when I leave the incredible peace and beauty like this behind, I always feel like I'm leaving home for a very long time. I think that is where these feelings come from. It's my imagination as I turn back for one last look at my home that has brought me so much joy for days or weeks. It's almost like leaving a loved one behind, knowing that it will be some time before you see them again. It may sound corny, but in my mind, it is real. The slight sadness I feel when leaving a camp that I so much enjoyed is so many times replaced by the joy of finding a new camp down the road. On this day, I just had a vague idea of where I was heading. East through the canyon into the Front Range of Colorado, and then south down the freaking interstate, because there really is not a lot of options when it comes to the Front Range. And given the fact that the weather was very sketchy that day, it seemed like the best option. Sometimes when riding along a beautiful mountain range like this, it is also a great option to be able to pay less attention to the road ahead, the stop signs, intersections, traffic, and law enforcement. Spend all your time and energy focused on the beauty that surrounds you rather than paying attention to the roadway. There's not a lot of places that I feel comfortable paying more attention to the scenery than long stretches of straight and wide road. I can think of a number of sections of interstate that the scenery is completely well worth the trip down the interstate because you're watching a movie on the side of the road. This is one of those sections. Very relaxing riding down the interstate, looking at the encroaching storms and wondering about the past and the history of the first travelers in this area and the folks that lived before them hunting wild game to survive. With all the negative aspects of riding the straight and wide asphalt of an interstate, there are quite a few positive things like the one I mentioned before, and the fact that if you want to get from one side of the state to the other very quickly for time considerations or weather considerations like this day for me, interstates can be a good option. As I approached the small town of Trinidad, Colorado, I realized that I needed to fuel up my bike and my body, and while I was here, I decided to do a quick exploration of the town before I decided on a good place to stop for a beer and a burger. I wound up stopping at a place called Moose's that had actual mounted moose heads on the wall, and they had a delicious beer, excellent service, and very friendly patrons at the same time. The timing worked out perfectly as it rained a good bit while I was inside refueling. As I returned to my bike after lunch, it was still a solid drizzle on my way out of town and south, but while in the bar, I did have time to navigate to what looked like an interesting opportunity for camping around a large volcano in a field of volcanoes outside the town of Capulin, New Mexico. So off I went, southeast into New Mexico, braving the rain, which wasn't really that bad, and having good waterproof gear helps quite a good bit with the discomfort and the unease that comes with riding in bad weather. My biggest concerns when it comes to rain is with standing water and very poor vision in downpours. I did try to take cover in a couple of spots on the way into New Mexico, but there are not a lot of covered areas to take refuge from falling moisture in this marginal desert region. The Texas Ranger presses on, alone.
The Texas Ranger presses on, alone.
Probably like 20 miles south of Trinidad, Colorado. There's a big storm. Sometimes it rains. When I was in Trinidad, I was having dinner and some beer. And it started raining. I'm like, is that really rain? I mean, I was on my second beer, about to finish. He said, you want another one? I was like, let me go check the weather. Like, I mean, it's a pretty hard drizzle, but it looked like it could have blown off in 5-10 minutes. That's why I told her, I might as well drink a beer while I'm here. So it's kind of hard to tell, but that's why I stopped and pulled this out. And it's like, I got some trees. I can get under a tarp at least and not get soaking wet, but hell, it's really hard to tell. It's hard to tell. I mean, problem is there's weather behind me, there's weather in front of me, and I don't know what to do. I thought I could pull into that last little town, Raton. I thought I could pull in there and maybe get some shelter at the visitor information center, but it's closed and there's nothing. There's no shelter at all. So I was like, gas pump, yeah, nah. I'll just keep on rolling. Here I am. Kind of hard to tell what the weather's going to do. It's 4:30. I need to find camp soon. But, I can still keep riding. It's just like, I can't go this way, I can't go that way unless I want to get wet. And I'm still at like, I don't know, 6,000 feet, so it's kind of cool. I mean, cool in the fact that it's cold. It gets really cold when you're wet. So anyway, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do. It's the first thunder I've heard in a while. Probably the first thunder I've heard since Maine Coast, maybe? Yeah. Thunder is weird in Colorado. It's kind of like Hawaii. You don't hear it. You don't see lightning strikes very much. Well, no, we had Buena Vista. We had lightning strikes. Just didn't hear any thunder. Well, I'm gonna sit here for a few minutes and figure out what to do. It'd be nice if I could just tie up somewhere around here, but everything looks like it's private property. It's the Front Range, so you know it's more like Texas out here. Beautiful. So I'm having a bit of a dilemma. Looks like there's weather all east of me over there. I was headed south down the interstate, but I think I'm done with the interstate. It looks like the worst of the weather is right over there anyway. So I think I'm gonna head back north to Raton, which is, I don't know, 5-6 miles north from here. And then I'm gonna go east from there. We'll see how that works out. I think I'm gonna try to make it to Texline before the sun goes down. Pretty cool rainbow though, huh?
As I turned back north towards Raton, New Mexico, I knew I would be driving back into a storm, but that was okay because I had dropped down off the mesas and into the wonderful world of volcanoes once again. I have not really explored this area of northern New Mexico, but I know a volcano when I see one. And it was pretty cool seeing the cinder cones popping up out of the flat desert regions that I was driving through. I couldn't wait to try to find a camp spot near or on a volcano. As it turns out, the admission fee for Kaplan National Monument was well more than I wanted to spend, and I decided to use my budget for a small bottle of whiskey in the town of Kaplan before I turned in for the night. I even thought I had a really good stealth spot, but I always think that I have a good stealth spot before I get busted in my stealth camping adventures. Well, I hope I'm not busted. I went back to my bike to get my cup so I can pour me a nightcap or two. And there's a pickup truck sitting over there. At least it was a second ago. I think maybe he was surprised to see me. I don't know. I don't know where he went. I hope everything is cool because it's raining now. I got nowhere else to go.
That's right. I'm a Texas Ranger.